Hey, can you tell what is real versus what is counterfeit? If you are unsure, you definitely want to stay tuned. We're going to be talking about the difference between what true wisdom does versus what the counterfeit or what the foolish things of the world do to grab our attention. So we're going to hop into chapter 9 today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to continue the discussion about wisdom versus foolishness and how it applies to your day-to-day life so that you can continue to have success and find favor in the Lord. So we're going to jump into chapter 9 today. We are in the New King James Version as well. Again, as I say every day, you're welcome to take a look at this in any translation. I think being able to compare and contrast is certainly a helpful practice when you are studying and really wanting to understand the fullness of the word. So I'll share a little bit more about that later. But we'll start with verse 1. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her meat. She has mixed her wine. She has also furnished her table. She has sent out her maidens, and she cries from the highest places of the city. Whoever is simple, let him turn and hear. As for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have mixed. Forsake foolishness and live, and go in the way of understanding. So one of the things, and that's going through verse 6, one of the things that will help you in your study of the word is one, praying and asking before you dive in for the Holy Spirit to bring truth to what you're reading. There's a lot of things that sometimes don't make sense because we didn't grow up in this type of society. We don't know some of the language. I mean, even if we think about if you grew up in North Carolina, where I currently am, and you grew up in the Northwest, like in Seattle, some of the colloquialisms and things that you might even say, are different. We might mean the same thing, but the way that we say, the way we express it might be different. So sometimes you don't exactly know what the word is saying. And I know that it can be a frustration for people as they are studying the word. Like, I don't know what this means. There are lots of resources available for you, commentaries, again, looking at multiple translations, getting a good concordance where you can look at the original language. So the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The New Testament was written in Greek and Aramaic. And so you can go back to the original language because some things just don't translate. The Bible was not written in English. I say that all the time. And so it is something that I would strongly encourage you to invest in some tools that will help you dig into the word. But the best thing you can do is pray. Now, this morning, as I was reading through this, on the surface, this is wisdom building her house. So sometimes some of the metaphors aren't quite so clear. What I want to take out of this is the preparation that wisdom, or the spirit of wisdom, is doing to prepare for the people she's inviting to her feast. She has hewn out 7 pillars. And so that means she sculpted, she crafted the 7 pillars that were going to hold up the house. So she built the house, right? And so how many of you all have built a house for people that are coming over to visit? And I'm quite sure not you. So there was some intentional effort and time invested. She slaughtered her meat. Now, for most of us that are probably watching this, if we want some meat, we go to the grocery store. Where in agrarian society, you didn't have a grocery store. You went in your backyard, you got your cow, you got your goat, you got your chicken, and then you slaughtered it. So there again was time invested in the preparation for this meal that she's preparing for the simple and those that lack understanding. She's mixed her wine. I did have to look this up. So that's kind of a common practice. I don't know all the ins and outs about making wine, but there are certain things in commentaries that say if you haven't mixed water in the wine, then it really is not tolerable to drink. There's also occasions where they would mix spices in with the wine, probably to boost the flavor or the potency or whatever. And so non-mixed wine is not good. And so she took the time to do whatever whatever caretaking of the wine that she did to make sure that it was prepared. I do not know a sommelier. It would be great if I had someone in the comments tell me about mixing wine or what you found out about it. But I'm sure there's something even deeper to that than what I understand as of right now. She's furnished her table. So I am not a hostess, but I have been to parties where the host has been so intentional about the decorations and the place setting and the flowers and the music and the smells in the room. If you work with any sort of party planner, they look at all those details and they prepare the place for people to come and enjoy the atmosphere. So she has done that. Wisdom has done that for you. She's also sent out her maidens probably to go and do things, to dress the tables, to go and prepare, to serve the food, to send out invitations. And then she goes out herself to the highest place in the city to invite everybody. And so what really struck me is how intentional, how purposeful, how much time was invested in preparing a good place for someone to come and spend time to feast with her. She also is looking for people who are simple and also those who lack understanding. She wants to feed you what you lack. She wants you to forsake foolishness and live and go in the way of understanding. She's inviting you into truth. Wisdom is inviting you to feast on all that she has to offer. When we got together yesterday, we were talking about how the wise we were talking about how the wise really should look for counsel at the point of decision. And one of the decisions is coming to spend some time with wisdom to make right decisions. We're going to hop down to verse 7. Verse 7 says, "He who corrects a scoffer gets shame for himself, and he who rebukes a wicked man only harms himself. Do not correct a scoffer, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning." What is interesting about that particular passage, it's a warning to not waste your time. How many of us have tried to give advice to people that don't want it? And what has been the end result of that? So there is wisdom in being discerning about who to share with and who you should not. And reading this reminded me of that passage that talks about don't cast your pearls before swine, because they can't appreciate it. A pig cannot appreciate the value of a pearl, how it's been cultivated, what the value, the cost of it is, the beauty. It can't understand it. And so the same with this, we cannot share our wisdom with people who are unwise. So wise people are always looking for instruction. They're always looking for knowledge, are always looking for advice and counsel, where foolish people are not. And whatever you say to them is foolishness to them, and they will rebuff you, and they will turn away from you. So this is saying, don't correct a scoffer lest he hate you. So somebody who really doesn't care what you have to say, you trying to show your knowledge or try to help them gain wisdom, they will hate you. They're like, I don't need what you're talking about. So we have to be really discerning as to when and where and with whom we should share the wisdom that the Lord has been giving us, so that we save ourselves from being rebuked and rebuffed by people who are not ready to receive what it is that we have to give. We should be looking for people who are inquiring, those who are leaning in, those who are asking questions. Those are teachable people. So look for those who are teachable, and they will increase in their learning, is what verse 9 says. We'll go down to verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years of life will be added to you. If you are wise for yourself, and if you scoff, you will bear it alone. So again, verse 10 is an exact quote from Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so if you want to grow in wisdom and understanding, you have to acknowledge that there is one true living God, and that He is the one that put this whole thing together. He's the one that created you. He's the one that set you in this earth at this time with purpose and plans and destiny. That is the beginning of where you will get the wisdom that you are so seeking. And understanding comes when you acknowledge the Holy One. So that's the beginning. Now, there's lots of people who are seemingly wise. They may do the right thing. But again, I think I shared this in the first video, that the principles of God always work. So if you stumble upon the principles, they just work because God sets systems in place from the beginning of time that if you do this, this happens. But in order to really capitalize that, in order to get the promise of your days being multiplied and your years being added to your life, you must start with the Lord. So my encouragement to you on day 9 is to seek first the kingdom, know who God is. And if you don't, I'd be happy to connect with you. Please go ahead and comment. I'm happy to share and talk to you about what the Lord can do in your life and lead you to Christ if that's what you so choose. But once you start that's the ground floor. That's your foundation. You can build on it from there. We'll go down to verse 13. For 13 says, a foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knows nothing. For she sits at the door of her house on a seat of the highest places of the city to call to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Whoever is simple, let him turn and hear. And as for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of hell. So this is where that comparison comes in. So we've talked the last couple of days about what foolish or immoral women do and how they draw your attention versus what wisdom does. Let's look at the comparison of this foolish woman versus wisdom. Wisdom has built a house for you. Wisdom has prepared a feast for you. The clamorous woman, the foolish woman, the immoral woman has done none of those things. Yes, she is still calling for you in the same way, saying, hey, come here. If you are simple and you lack understanding, come and let you turn in here. But she's not prepared a place for you. She's stolen something to give to you and tries to pass it off as pleasurable. She says stolen water is sweet and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. That's a lie, right? Because there's so much more attached to that. Where wisdom has intentionally spent time, effort, and planning to prepare a feast for you, right? A feast means there's just never ending food, wine, a drink, desserts. It's just a plethora. Think about Thanksgiving dinner, right? Like you could just gorge yourself on all the things. Well, something is stolen. One, how much can you actually get? And there is no more. Once you've eaten what's been provided for you, it's gone. There are not maidens in the back bringing more food from the kitchen. There are not, there's not a beautiful table. You're probably hiding out in secret, not in the open, enjoying and being loud and joyous and laughing. Because when you do stuff in secret, you have to be quiet so you don't draw attention to yourself. Her guests are in the depths of hell. They are dead. Where on the flip side, in verse 6, it says, forsake foolishness and live, right? There's a comparison. Wisdom brings life. Foolishness brings death. That theme has been repeated over and over and over and over again in this chapter, in this book of Proverbs. And I really hope that begins to sink in to you. Do you choose life or do you choose death? And remember, and I've heard this, and I don't know where I got this from, I'm sure you all have heard it too, is that lack of decision is still a decision. So if you do not intentionally choose life, if you do not intentionally choose wisdom, then you inadvertently are choosing death and foolishness. So you do have to make a decision. And indecision is still a decision. right? And so I hope that this has been sort of eye-opening for you, that there's something in this passage that really resonates with you. Again, as I mentioned, further study is so important to be able to really get the depth of what God wants to share. That is part of your seeking wisdom, is to go deeper. So I will link in the description box below some of the resources that I use. One, there's a website that's really great for deep study. It's called logos.com. There is a free version, but there's also paid versions. You'd have access to different versions of the Bible. You have access to commentaries. You get access to what the dictionaries for some of the Hebrew and Greek words are. It's a plethora of information. You could spend hours and hours and hours, but it's a great resource. So I'll link that below. And I also put the link for Blue Letter Bible. It is also another resource that would have access to different dictionaries and lexicons, and for you to be able to do a deep dive into some of the words. I haven't done as much of that in this study of Proverbs, but I encourage you to do that. And you would take one of the words and find out what the original Hebrew or Greek actually defined it as, because there just are not enough words in the English language to really share what the original writer's intention was. And so we sometimes have a misinterpretation of the word. So we can't just read it on the surface. We have to go a little bit deeper. So I'll link that in the description box for you below. And as we go, I'll share some other things, but I hope that blesses you. Remember, you need to be able to understand between what is the real versus what the counterfeit is. What is stolen sweet pleasures that you think that only last for a brief period of time versus the feast that will feed you for a lifetime. Choose well, my friends, and I'll see you tomorrow.